All right, this video is from my boy Alex and my boy John, who just got some handy dandy new PEX HD-Cap60Ls that they're going to be hopefully recording and streaming a bunch of retro consoles and arcade PCBs with. And it's just a little tutorial I wanted to throw together for you guys, just so you can kind of not have to go through the trials and tribulations that I have with this card. It's a really cool card. It does a lot of really cool things, but were just a couple of pitfalls that I hit in the beginning, and I just want to make it as easy as I can for you guys. I've been using this card for maybe 4 years now, and I've learned a lot and I've stumbled a lot, and I just want to make it hopefully easy for you after watching this 5 to 10 minute video to just get going and get recording and get right onto the fun stuff. One thing I do want to say before I get started is I did say in Slack that you couldn't capture with the ossc when you had the RGB drivers installed, and at least with the ones that I uploaded that end in a version 1.4.2, I actually have been able to capture RGB in both 2x mode and 4x mode and 480p and 2x mode. So, I mean, if retro gaming is what you're going to be capturing mostly, or arcade PCBs, you're pretty much set with that driver. If you try to use it to capture, Xbox One, PS4, Xbox 360, PS3, and have problems, then you probably want to go ahead and install the new driver. But I would say just install the driver inside the zip file that I gave you in the 240p folder, and it should cover mostly all of your bases. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. I'm using OBS. It's the easiest, freest, best platform that I know of. If you guys use something else, I apologize. If this is recap for you and you use this a ton, I apologize. But basically, to get where I am now, all you have to do is go to OBS's website, download the file, and install it. And pretty much this is what's going to come up after you log into your Twitch account. So let's go ahead and go to our sources right here. Let's add a source, and we want to add a video capture device. Now, I just always call this PEX HD-Cap. Call me boring, but it's just easy for me to remember, and a lot of times I'll have a webcam and this capture and that capture, and it just keeps everything easy. So I just go ahead and call it that, and as you can see, what comes up right away is my Brio. We don't want that. This will be different for you guys, but based on what input devices you have, but we want to go to the SA7 160 PCIe analog capture. And this is just what the card's named. It's going to capture both HDMI and analog, so don't worry about that. We're just going to go ahead and select it. And then right away you're going to see my window comes up like this. I've got my PC engine running, and right away you're going to notice that it scales it terribly. It's 16:9, it's tiny. If you go ahead, I'll just kind of show you without clicking off this, but if we try to make it bigger, it just scales it junky, and it, looks all rough and like it has a bunch of noise in it, and the colors aren't great. So the very first thing you want to do, and this kind of tripped me up in the beginning, again, we're capturing natively via the VGA input here. And a lot of times if you just install the card and don't change it to VGA in this menu that I'm going to show you, you're going to see nothing. So don't worry if you see nothing when you turn your console on and have it plugged in via VGA. It's not broken. You just need to go ahead and go to configure video here, and as you can see, I've got VGA selected in the video input mode. It starts in HDMI, but obviously since this isn't my first time using the card, it started in VGA. The important thing about this is in VGA mode, if you're going to use the audio input from the capture card, which you'll have to buy that little breakout cable to do, you want the audio input set to line in, right? And it obviously won't even let me do embedded audio when I have it in VGA mode because there is no embedded audio. When you select HDMI, it gives you the option of either embedded audio or using the breakout. I just always leave HDMI and embedded. And fortunately, when you switch over to VGA, it just puts it right to this audio input line in. And another thing you want to do is a lot of times the card will start with this on, this single resolution output. This basically makes it to where even if you go down to a custom profile, you cannot change what resolution the card outputs, which is a bunch of junk. So if you're having problems and you can't see different resolutions in the drop-down menus, this is what you need to disable right here. I always just disable it, so I have a little more freedom with the card and can do more with it. So again, just disable single resolution output. And I don't think we need to do anything with our video decoder or proc amp settings yet. If you're doing something interlaced, you can obviously de-interlace it with Bob. If you're just doing 240p, and even if you're doing something that switches like PlayStation and some of the menus, I just generally leave it to Weave, and it outputs a good picture, and you don't get any jank video. So leave that on Weave. Disable the single resolution output, and let's go ahead and hit OK. Now, like I said, it's all gangstered. We can't scale it properly. We could crop it. We could kind of transform it, but that would basically be a bunch of junk. What we want to do is we want to go from device default, and we want to go custom, and let's go to resolution, and it's only showing 720 by 240 for some reason because it's hella jankety right now. We want this set to 10 or 1280 by 960, and usually it gives you a drop down there, so I just went ahead and manually set it, but usually it just tells you in the drop down that you can do it. This is always set to match output, but even if you're capturing like a game like say Mario 64 that really only runs in 30 frames a second, the console still outputs a 60 hertz signal. So unless you're literally capturing something in 50 hertz, you want to go ahead and or something that outputs 30 hertz, which I can't even think of, you want to go ahead and click 59.94, which is 60 hertz. And I mean, I can't even think of a scenario where you'd use the other ones unless you had like a PAL region console or something like that. So I go ahead and set this right away. And then your video format, you want XRGB. And see, that's going to crash it, right? Because it's not letting me change the resolution. You actually have to use YUY2 if you're going to be scaling it in 1280 by 960. And it's just the way the card does it, and it's really kind of junk. But you want to go ahead and set your color space to 601, and you want to set your color range to full, I think. And no, it's the other way around. I always get confused. You want to set your color range to partial and your color space to 709. And then you just get a little bit more vibrant colors. Okay, so that's basically it in a nutshell. This is generally the way that I capture everything if I'm forced to use VGA. This just allows you to kind of move everything nicely, and you can keep it in the 4:3 ratio and then kind of crop it and do whatever you want with it. And it's just going to keep it in a nice 4:3 ratio. There is a way to get this into actual 444 XRGB. And the way you do that is there we go. See, here's my drop downs. 1280 by 960, that's where we're at. So the card, as I showed you in the beginning, scales it to 240 by 720. So as long as we keep the width aspect ratio, it's going to allow you to keep that 444 color palette. So what we can do is we can switch it to 1280 by 720. And as you can see, it's kind of janked the we're back in 16 by 9 mode, and I mean, we can crop it and everything, but anytime we try to scale it, it keeps that 16:9 scale. And you can fiddle with it manually, but 99 times out of 100, you're going to get an improper scale of your 4:3 image. What we can do now, though, is we can switch over to XRGB, and when we're in XRGB, we always have a 444 full color range, which is preferred. We have a 709 color space, and we have a full color range. So that's just going to go ahead and make our colors a little more accurate and make our video a little less fuzzy. But here's the problem with this, right? You're stuck in the 16:9 mode. What you can do is you can come over here and click Properties on the card. And I'm sorry, not properties. You go down here and you click transform on the card, and you go to edit transform here, and you see where it says size right down here. You can switch this to 1280 by 960, and look at that. You have your XRGB 444 full color range, and colors are a little bit better, and you know, you get your full color gamut and your 709 color palette. So, I mean, you get a little bit better quality here. I honestly feel like though, when you're in this mode, this is the biggest you can make this screen, right? So I can crop this right now and make this smaller, you know, kind of make it fit the bounds. But you're basically stuck to a screen this size when you have it in this mode. You could, in theory, do the math and put in a different output resolution and, you know, get it to perfectly fit here and here. But, you know, the lines on arcade boards and consoles all vary, so you'd have to figure that out every time, which is a royal pain in the butt. Because if I go to scale it right now, since I set it in that transform mode, if I go back to scale it, boom, it pops right back to a 16:9 ratio. So, you know, it's kind of a trade-off. In general, I just leave it in 960 mode or 1280 by 960 and go ahead and get through the YUI with the partial color palette in 709 mode. I feel like it the picture upgrade for the other one alone doesn't really justify you know, giving up your ability to kind of transform this image and make it to the size you want. So this is the way I do it when I'm forced to capture RGB, but the ossc is going to deliver a lot cleaner picture. So now you know everything I know about RGB. Let's go ahead and switch over to the ossc mode. Let me flip it on and plug it in, and we'll get that underway. Okay, so I'm going to unplug my RGB here. Which I don't really know if you need to plug them and unplug them. I just don't like feeding the thing two video signals at once. So there we are, no signal. I'm going to turn on my ossc, set my input, set it to line 4x mode because it's a 240p signal. And let's go ahead and hit properties here, configure video, and now we want to go to HDMI, obviously, embedded audio, and bada boom, there is our nice ossc upscaled image right there. When you're doing everything in the ossc, all the settings are the same except you want, obviously, oh, see, and it's not showing it to me. Let's just set this, maybe it's just being finicky. A lot of times ossc is, OBS is a little finicky. Let's see. It's only showing me YUI2. Let's go to default. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just doesn't like that. Okay, custom. Oh, why won't you let me do, let's do match. Let's do, yeah, it's got to be 1280 by 960. 709 partial. We basically want to change this to full, and we want to change it from YUI to XRGB, but for some reason it's not doing it. Let me make sure I have my line setting mode correct. Okay, for some reason it's not doing it. Let's go ahead and close that out, and let's go back to properties and see. Sometimes it's a little finicky, especially when kind of changing between things. Okay, cancel, but it's free, right? Okay, so there's all my resolutions. I think it's going to work this time. Let's see. YUI, yep, there we go, XRGB. I don't know why it was being finicky, but basically when you're doing anything with the ossc, if you're using line 2x mode in 480p or you're using line 4x mode in 240p, these are the settings you want. You want it 1280 by 960, 60 frames a second, XRGB, video format, 709 color space, and actually I lied. You want full color range. And bam, look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. It's crispy. And the thing that's cool about this too is you don't have to sacrifice the scaling for your full color range. Your picture's just going to look a lot better. Like if I close this now, I just make it any size I want. It's going to keep my nice 4:3 scale, and then I just crop the image out. So the ossc just makes it. The ossc just makes everything super nice and easy. And God, the picture upgrade alone, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Anyways, let's go back to our properties here. And the one thing I didn't show you how to do is enable the capture from your capture card. Um, Basically, what you have to do is hit the properties, go all the way to the bottom here, and see how it says audio output mode capture only. That's the way you want it. You want audio capture only. You want to use custom audio device, and then you want to scroll down here to your SA7 160 PCI. And again, it says analog wave in. It doesn't matter. Whatever you have it set to in video properties, it'll do digital and analog. So you just select that, and then you hit OK. And you can select in the video configure whether you get it via digital input through the HDMI cable right here, or the embedded audio, which is through the HDMI, or the line in, which is the breakout cable. I know that was a lot of information, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys really enjoy those cards. I hope you and your families are safe in this time, and I'm really looking forward to see whatever you guys stream or record using this stuff. I've sure enjoyed my card, and I'm sure no matter which way you decide to go with it, we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. So I hope, again, that you guys are doing well, and I hope this short video helps you get going and get streaming or recording right away. Take care, guys.